Okay folks, we need to talk about Tim Heidecker, because you won't believe his twisted past. So everyone knows Tim grew up a rebellious skater in LA who barely stayed out of jail. And one of the only things that kept him from sheer destruction was his love of music. And while many people don't know this, Tim grew up in the same neighborhood as Justin Long. Now at some point during high school, Justin Long starts a band called Lyrical Movement. And by junior year, the band has a big local following and is in talks to sign with a major record label. And they were stylistically emo, with influences that ranged from Atreyu to From First to Last. Well, out of nowhere, the guitarist Brendan Harris quits the band, citing his Christian beliefs conflicting with the band's rock and roll image, leaving them searching for a new member. And that's when Tim Heidecker joins the band Lyrical Movement. And you can imagine the excitement of joining a group that's about to be signed to a major label. It must have seemed too good to be true. Well, if it did seem that way, then it seemed that they had seemed correctly. Days before signing the record deal, Justin Long gets cold feet and backs out of the deal. See, Justin was already acting back then, and his agent at the time talked him out of signing with a major label for fear of them controlling his client. And it appears Justin chose correctly, as he very quickly shot into the Hollywood stratosphere as an actor, with a career that certainly outlasted whatever his emo band might have accomplished. So a young Tim Heidecker learns his band is now breaking up rather than rocking on MTV, and that sends Tim into deep despair. You can imagine how horrible it would feel to be so close to that type of success and then have it pulled away from you. Well, over time, his mind turned into a twisted, bitter rage, with Tim secretly vowing to get even with Justin Long. But Tim had no way of reaching his goal of revenge at the moment, so he set his sights on other figures he thought deserved to get taken down. And that's what started the now 22-year public feud between Tim and Mo Rocca. See, at the time of the band breaking up, Tim was stuck back at home all summer with nothing to do, and found himself watching VH1's I Love the 80s. And he became transfixed on Mo Rocca, believing him to be undeserving of an authoritative position on 1980s pop culture. So Tim uses the then popular website Napster to download Mo Rocca's home address, and he begins his campaign of letters. And reportedly, Tim wrote a 3-page letter to Mo Rocca every day for 2 full years. And while we can't say there's any direct link, after this era, the public really didn't see any more of Mo Rocca. It seemed that Tim had successfully gotten into his head. Now apparently Tim did this same cruel ritual to Lucy Lawless and a handful of other actors in the early 2000s that all seemed to step away from acting shortly after. But then he moved from physical letters to the internet, and that's where he really saw the effects of his cruel taunting. Now you probably don't know this, but Fieldy, the bassist of Korn, actually put out a solo rap album. And this is not a joke, go look this up. But Tim was delighted to find this CD on Korn's website. He then joined the website chat room, and he basically mocked it until the band removed the entire album. So Tim is feeling the power and loving it. But this isn't a career. He still has to find a path in life to move on past Lyrical Movement. And that's when Tim starts getting very clever. You see, Tim's father owns a copywriting firm, and while Tim could have worked for his dad and had a well-paying job, his hatred of Justin Long wouldn't let him settle for this office life. But Tim did see the value in his father's firm. You see, Tim started using inside information to take advantage of people who had never technically copyrighted their business or idea. And then Tim would himself claim the copyright and legally steal other people's IP. For example, the show you know as Tom Goes to the Mayor is actually taken from the 1970s Hindu cartoon Anika Visits the King. And the beloved Tim and Eric Awesome Show Great Job is just this Japanese comedy show that they left the direct translation of the name because they thought it was funny. And apparently Tim's bad stand-up character is just a Chris Titus half-hour he never bothered to copyright. And at one point, Tim even attempted to copyright the religion of Buddhism, claiming the religion would benefit from organization. And this is just Tim's game. He's never come up with an idea of his own, he just copyrights other people's golden material. Even his podcast, Office Hours, which is him, DJ Doug Pound, and Vic Berger, Tim has dubbed as the Trinity. Well, guess what, folks? He took that too. You see, the Holy Trinity is really just the Big Three. That's right, the Don Barris-led comedic group that created the cult smash hit Windy City Heat. Now apparently, Tim was able to legally steal this property right from under poor Don Barris's feet. And that's why you haven't seen any Big Three projects since the beginning of Office Hours. Legally speaking, these three can't even work together anymore, and it's all because of Tim Heidecker. So Tim turns poor Vic Berger into his personal Perry Caravello, aka a human punching bag, and replicates Don Barris' already successful brand. And Tim is really gaining power at this point. He's becoming friends with SNL cast members and making his way to Justin. And you might not know this, but the handful of horror movies that Tim does during this time are actually all just to make fun of Justin Long's foray into the genre. But at some point, Tim apparently realizes that no matter how much he tries to catch up, Justin is always going to be ahead because he started much younger and had already been a movie star for years. So Tim does something truly shocking and signs a contract with the Magellan Corporation. And if you don't know who this is, it's basically a giant international conglomerate that owns companies like William Morris, Coca-Cola, Monsanto, and basically any other notorious American company you can think of. And signing with Magellan is not like signing with a manager or an agency. This company isn't subject to any local jurisdiction and is largely secretive. And while it seems unlikely to be true, Alex Jones alleges the Magellan Corporation is similar to the secret society known as Skull and Crossbones, and claims that they have sick rituals including eating human excrement to extract power. But with clients like Robin Williams and Denzel Washington, it's clear they're an elite club, and that's exactly what Tim needed. See, apparently Tim used his power to start getting every Justin Long movie offer shut down. Now, there was allegedly going to be a Red Hot Chili Peppers movie stylized like Across the Universe, being a semi-musical with Justin Long as Anthony Kiedis, but Tim was quick to put the kibosh on that. And that's why you don't really see Justin in movies anymore, other than a few random indie horror flicks that he's been relegated to. So Tim Heidecker successfully smites Justin Long, but then he finds himself unsure of what to do next. He feels for the first time completely lost, and that's when he turned back to Buddhism, but not to the practice. He turned back to his original idea of copywriting the religion. Now, with the power of the Magellan Corporation, he wasn't limited by local law. And recently, online sleuthers found this 800-acre plot in Ethiopia legally owned by one Tim Heidecker, littered with strange buildings, leading some to believe he's beta testing his organized religion here. And there's plenty more controversies with Tim, like the celebrity boxing match between him and Sheryl Crow that many said Tim took too seriously. But we'll have to save that for another time. Until then, Tim Heidecker, you're a total bitch. Okay, TB Nation, we've got some big fish coming up, so prepare for the shockwave of a lifetime.